And Steve reported this on his show on the was it on Slow News Day or was it on Anarchy in the Morning?
No, we touched on it throughout the week last week. We were finally able to do part of a show on it on Friday. Chanda Masta from Roar
Yeah.
Media was part of that one, and shout out to her and them. Um, yeah,
Yeah, for
just
people who are really invested in the political sphere and haven't been paying attention to what the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case was, Chanda Massa discussed that on the show with Pasta and Steve here.
yeah, okay, so it's a thin line between, Pasta was talking about this as well. There's a thin line between, like, is it TMZ to talk about this, or is there some, like, actual real wild shit going on?
Yeah.
And in terms of the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing, there was both literal and physical wild shit going on. So we spent a few minutes on
Yeah.
it. But I mean, this is far crazier because this is international and people don't even realize that. People are only talking about the ones, at least in the mainstream and in most of the channels that, like, satellite off of that, are only talking about the domestic uh, processing and distribution plants that have been hit. There have been dozens and dozens and dozens internationally. There's over 100 total. It's on basically every continent. It's you can't look at it like it's a coincidence at this point. So if it's not a coincidence, what is it? And is there a singular purpose for it? Is there, multiple reasons for it? It's definitely worth looking at and talking about because, a supply chain collapse and food shortage has been long predicted in a number of different documents that we've all discussed, throughout the time that we've been on the air.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to read a little bit from what Matt Agaris wrote here, and he did mainly talk about what's happening domestically, but as Steve said, this is happening internationally. But yeah, multiple large food processing and distribution plants in the U.S. have recently exploded or burned down. So he shows us some videos here of different plants that are getting burnt down. This is happening over a short period of time. So this is saying just weeks before this fire here, a massive fire engulfed a Walmart distribution center in Plainfield, Indiana, where over 1,000 employees shipped food and other supplies all over the region. The fire destroyed the massive 1 million square foot operation. The same week, one of the largest food facilities of its kind in South Texas caught fire and burned to the ground. Prior to burning down, the Rio Fresh facility in San Juan, Texas, grew, packed, and shipped a variety of Texas grown items, including Texas 1015 sweet onions, melons, greens, cabbage, and kale. The cause of the fire is currently unknown, and then we see this pattern across a lot of these facilities. The reason for the fire is unknown, but we find fire in all of these cases. In Oregon, in February, a massive food processing facility suddenly exploded, injuring 7 of the nearly 400 employees who work at the Shearer's foods plant. According to reports, the cause of the explosion, which originated near a boiler, is still under investigation. And that investigation, again, just like a lot of these, are not conclusive. In Arizona in March, a massive fire wiped out Maricopa Food Pantry, which distributes food to the less fortunate. A pattern that we're seeing going to the less fortunate, something that's organic, goes against these agricultural industries that put all these pesticides in our food with ingredients such as glyphosate, which is linked to cancers like non Hodgkin's lymphoma. But an interesting fact here about this author is that he is an honorably discharged veteran from USMC, and he's also a former intelligence operator who's directly tasked by the NSA. And so this prior experience gives him a unique insight into the world government and corruption and the American police state. Now, where else are we seeing this happening in the world? And what are your guys' thoughts on this stuff?
Well, give me a second and let me pull up a number. I'll just start reading them off
Yeah, and I can share your screen if you wanna share it.
randomly. Well, uh, if you're on Ice Age Farmers Telegram,
Okay.
that that's where I'm going. Um, but here I gotta scroll up quite a bit. Let's see. Harlow in the UK. This is what's the timestamp on this? 5:48 this morning. Large sausage factory um, in Harlow going down. 43,000 chickens died as their barn burned down in a Dutch town overnight. A bunch of chicken culling going on. We're talking about a huge reduction in grain harvest in Iowa due to weather. Um, let's see. FBI has a bunch of new cyber attacks that they're predicting, right? Which is always great when the FBI predicts the cyber attacks.
Yeah.
Um, let's see what else. A main.
Cyber
Let's
attacks on
see.
food supply.
There was
I'm
a
seeing that.
fire in Belfast that is affecting a potato processing facility
Yeah.
in Maine. Fresno County lost a dairy processing facility. Um, let's see, that's the one in Oregon. That's in the article. I'm pretty sure you mentioned it. Let's see, there's a potential beef shortage on the way as well.
A duck farm I'm reading here. Bird flu outbreak forces Quebec duck farm to kill 150,000 birds, permanently lay off 300 employees. Wow.
Island of Madeira, large fire at a supermarket warehouse. There was stuff in Indonesia. There was stuff in Mali. There was stuff in Australia. More in the UK. More in France. This is an animal feeds firm in Derby, or sorry, Rumenco in the UK. Um, yeah, I mean it's all over. Like I don't know, dude. If the coincidences only go one way, uh, are they still coincidences?
It's a
What
Well,
does
fair
everybody else
question. I
here
mean, would they
think?
be so would the Great Reset cabal be so audacious to be fucking doing this? It's fucking crazy, man.
There was a plane that crashed into one the other night, John.
yeah.
I know, man. I know. I'm not saying crazy like I don't believe it. I'm just saying crazy like fucking crazy, man.
Well, yeah,
Well,
because
and
it wasn't the first plane to crash into a food processing facility in the last like 7 weeks. Like
to
the third.
to add to
Ah,
that, to add to everything, like outside of all these food processing places or just food warehouses, whatever, um, having all these burning down, getting struck by planes. Decoy Voice actually ran a segment talking about this not too long ago as well. But even outside of these facilities, just farmers in general, especially a lot of like Texas farmers, are complaining like their crops are way behind where they should be this time of year anyway. They're not
Mm.
even growing crops the way they typically would. So, I mean, there's food, on the land and the factory. There's food problems arising all over the place. But yeah, the only thing you can hear about on mainstream media right now is Amber Heard crapping in Johnny Depp's side of the bed.
which
Yeah, this
you
is-
know, a little weird, deserves a moment. Not the whole show. You know.
Yeah. This is not getting coverage. Also,
Oh,
one.
quickly,
Go ahead.
just quickly, this week, Janet Yellen is meeting with the IMF and the World Bank and a number of other oligarchs to discuss the food crisis.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah.
Hooray.
Hooray. So, one of the reasons that I think that something is going on here is because both Snopes and PolitiFact are telling me that I shouldn't worry about this.
Nah.
So, anytime Snopes debunks something, I think it needs to get rebunked. Snopes says, are fires at processing plants a new trend? And that says misleading. And then PolitiFact says, fires at processing plants are an attempt to, or quote, an attempt to starve us, end quote, false. They're just basing it off of one like Facebook post, but they're basically just trying to minimize any kind of like worry about this thing, which is what those fake fact checking sites do.
This is
Yeah.
crazy. I'm reading
Yeah.
here that like the UK and the US, like Biden, are urging some of the farmers to stop farming certain foods. Yeah, UK, another huge fire at animal feed facility.
I mean, if you look at it through the lens of a purposeful, controlled demolition of the global economy, I mean, you have to fuck up the food supply. You have to, in addition to the supply chain, in addition to the energy prices and everything like that. I mean, I don't know how cynical we want to get, but this is not normal, man.
Is it cynical to see this on an international scale and look at the exact words of the people who have organizations with names like Global Shapers and Global Leaders, and where people are out in the open publishing things called the Great Reset, or the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or hey, let's go put brain chips in everyone and shoot them full of experimental drugs.
No,
Like,
Steve, it's
I mean-
not. It's not.
I mean, it's if all you're doing is going by the people who themselves admit, yes, behind the scenes we pull the levers of power and manipulate the way that governments behave because it benefits us. If all you're doing is going by their words and their actions,
And by what you're seeing happening, what conclusion
Yeah.
do you come to? Yes. Fair enough. It's fucked up.
Tying this to the Russia-Ukraine stuff, it looks like the conflict it may spark food riots in poor countries.
well, yeah, because Ukraine's wheat feeds a ridiculous percentage of not just Africa but Europe, Eastern Europe.
Jeez. Yeah, that's why they have their flag. It's blue and yellow. The blue is the sky. The yellow is the wheat that they grow. But yeah, many African nations depend on food supplies from the Black Sea region, Ukraine. The conflict in Ukraine and sanctions against Russia from Western countries are driving up global food prices as Black Sea ports used to export grain remain blocked.
This isn't going to be the U.S.'s problem by this time next year, though, because by this time next year, the Black Sea will be a Russian lake. There will be a partnership with China, with Belt Road countries. Oceania will have always been at war with Eurasia and will be logging into the metaverse to go to work.
Yeah. Is there going to be new lockdowns that'll occur next year, you think?
I mean, they're priming the pump right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be if there's not a lockdown by August, right before midterms, I'll be surprised. I will be. The only chance in hell the Democrats have at rigging a couple of seats are by forcing mail-in ballots.
Oh,
And
goodness.
and if they don't pull that trick for midterms, they damn sure will for the 2024 election. No matter what puppet they've got up there, if they're still going with old,
All of their
Wandering
candidates
Joe.
are horrible right now.
Yeah,
All of them.
yeah, it's the controlled demolition of the empire. Masks off. They put the doddering, demented fool, the clear puppet that nobody respects, after they put the reality TV World Wrestling goon in the White House. Are you kidding me? They don't give a fuck. Look at the candidates. Like they need them to be like even any kind of like reasonable. It's just, why do they gotta show anybody that somebody's trying? It's a 92% recidivism rate, or 96, or something like that. They already got the job. They just want to grift you a little bit, take some of your money, and tickle your balls and sell you some hope. Who fuck, man? With the same lines. The same lines they were using 10 years ago. And they got a whole media ecosystem that keeps their audiences trapped in 2015 talking points. Like there's, I mean, come on.
Still
Like,
talking about
why would
Donald
they
Trump.
try?
Donald Trump is the worst person in history.
You
He
just
is a
need to get in there
sexist,
and
a
get a Green
misogynist.
New Deal.
Yeah.
We just need to hold their feet to the fire.
We need to give people access to health care. They're saying access now.
Access to affordable health care, actually, Frank.
Yeah, you're